For decades, everyone assumed Switzerland was the unquestioned capital of banking secrecy and hidden offshore fortunes. Then, a new global study suggested the real hotspots for dirty money might now be Dubai, Hong Kong, and America. Even stranger, the country loudly demanding transparency from others was quietly becoming a favorite destination for alleged bribe payments. So what actually happened inside global finance that turned supposed watchdogs into suspected safe havens for illicit cash flows? To find out, researchers at the University of Sussex spent years mapping hidden financial networks across more than 70 jurisdictions. They analyzed decades of regulations, foreign bribery case files, and thousands of entities already flagged on official United States sanctions lists. Their goal was simple but ambitious: discover where corruption proceeds, organized crime profits, and sanctions-dodging funds really prefer to hide. At the center of their map were familiar names: the United States, Switzerland, the United Kingdom, Dubai, Hong Kong, Panama. The project drew huge attention because it challenged comfortable assumptions about who is clean, who is dirty, and who writes the rules. Major investigative outlets, advocacy groups, and anti-corruption experts began citing the findings as evidence that the game had quietly changed. For ordinary people, the idea that respectable democracies might rival classic tax havens made financial crime feel suddenly very personal. As the team followed money trails over 40 years, a shifting timeline of secrecy zones slowly emerged from their data.
In the early chapters, the story looked familiar: Swiss vaults, numbered accounts, and discreet private bankers guarding international fortunes. Many foreign bribery cases showed suspicious payments routed through classic Swiss banks, reinforcing the stereotype of Switzerland as secrecy headquarters. Regulators and journalists focused heavily on distant islands and alpine streets, convinced the main danger lived far from major democracies. Yet behind the scenes, something odd was slowly, quietly building inside the American financial system itself. Washington pressed other countries to open up, signing agreements, demanding account details, and warning that secrecy was a growing security threat. At the same time, the United States refused to join the global standard for automatic exchange of banking information between countries. This meant foreign banks often had to reveal more about American clients, while American banks shared less about foreign customers' money. That imbalance created a strange incentive. Some people seeking anonymity realized the safest place might now be inside America. Around 2013, foreign bribery prosecutions started showing fewer Swiss accounts and more United States accounts handling suspicious international payments. Compliance officers noticed the geography of risk changing, even as public debates still centered on Switzerland as the main villain. Meanwhile, several American states made it remarkably easy to register shell companies without publicly revealing the true beneficial owners. Places like Delaware and Florida became famous among professionals who needed anonymous corporations faster than most people ordered dinner. Investigators later found these shells quietly appearing inside bribery schemes, sanctions evasion networks, and large money laundering investigations. But the quiet transformation of the United States was only one chapter in a much larger realignment of financial secrecy. Across the Atlantic, the United Kingdom started tightening rules after scandals, public outrage, and years of criticism about London's role. However, its web of former colonies and overseas territories still offered familiar legal systems with far fewer political constraints from Britain. Jurisdictions like the British Virgin Islands and Gibraltar appeared again and again in leaked files describing complex offshore structures for clients worldwide. They sat in a gray zone, plugged into Western finance, using English common law, yet comfortably distant from Western political accountability. In 2016, the Panama Papers leak exposed one of the world's most famous offshore law firms and its secretive clients. Panama's reputation as a quiet hub for shell companies collapsed, and many nervous clients rushed to move their vulnerable structures elsewhere. According to the Sussex research, most of that business did not disappear. It simply began traveling along new financial routes. More and more, both organized crime money and politically sensitive funds started surfacing in Dubai and Hong Kong corporate records. Researchers described a new Dubai-Kong axis, linking fast-growing markets, offshore entities, and convenient gateways into mainstream global finance. These cities offered something unusual: Western-style legal services and banks, but looser alignment with sanctions regimes and transparency campaigns. For networks tied to Russian or Iranian interests, that combination of opportunity, global connectivity, and political distance looked especially attractive.
By overlaying thousands of sanctioned entities onto their maps, the team saw Dubai and Hong Kong appearing repeatedly in complex network diagrams. Just when regulators thought cleaning up Panama and tightening London would solve the problem, the patterns showed something far more unsettling. The big twist was simple yet disturbing. The riskiest secrecy was no longer confined to tiny islands and remote offshore centers. Instead, major financial powers and glamorous global cities were quietly competing to host the most attractive platforms for opaque wealth. The United States even rose to the top of a prominent index ranking which countries most enable offshore secrecy worldwide. For many observers, seeing America outrank Switzerland and traditional havens triggered disbelief, anger, and an uncomfortable sense of irony. Anti-corruption activists argued the data proved that preaching transparency means little when your own system quietly attracts hidden foreign money. Officials pointed to new reforms, including a federal registry of company owners, though access remains mostly limited to certain authorities. Critics countered that a closed registry misses the point because journalists and independent researchers cannot effectively scrutinize suspicious company structures. Another striking finding was that many meaningful reforms were driven not by governments, but by NGOs and investigative reporters. Massive leaks like the Panama Papers and Paradise Papers repeatedly forced regulators to act only after networks were exposed to the world. Some experts believe countries intentionally tolerate a degree of financial secrecy, hoping to attract capital while keeping plausible deniability. Others argue the system simply evolved faster than regulations, leaving loopholes nobody fully understood until the data was carefully mapped. There is also a geopolitical theory. Corruption and organized crime prefer Western-linked hubs, while sanctioned regimes choose more neutral jurisdictions. The Sussex team avoided claiming any grand conspiracy, yet their work strongly suggested these recurring patterns were not random accidents. From a neutral perspective, the safest reading is that global finance rewards places balancing respectable reputations with practical opacity. Whether that balance comes from deliberate strategy, fragmented policymaking, or sheer neglect remains a fiercely debated question among specialists. In the end, the mystery remains. How did anti-corruption champions and glittering cities become magnets for allegedly dirty international money? Do you think this transformation mainly reflects deliberate policy choices, or regulators constantly lagging behind increasingly inventive financial criminals? Is the rise of the Dubai-Kong axis just a natural response to sanctions pressure, or evidence of something more coordinated? So, after everything, one core mystery stands. Who truly benefits most from keeping these powerful financial systems so opaque? Is this mostly about greedy elites exploiting loopholes, or about governments quietly weaponizing finance for long-term strategic influence? Do rising hubs like Dubai and Hong Kong show normal market shifts, or a coordinated network resisting Western control and rules? If you had to choose, which explanation feels closest to the truth? And what specific detail convinced you the most?